Welcome to our latest news update. Today we will be discussing some of the most recent and shocking news stories from around the world. From a controversial court case to a mysterious disease outbreak, we have it all covered. So without further ado, let's get started. First up, a man who raped a 13-year-old girl has been given a community sentence, sparking outrage and calls for justice. Yes. McDonald's has temporarily shut down its offices as the chain prepares for layoff notices and begins laying off employees. Meanwhile, 3 people have died from a mystery nosebleed disease within 24 hours, leading to a town being quarantined. In other news, President Trump has arrived in New York for surrender, but is opposing to court coverage. Finally, wood prices have surged after a surprise move to cut up. These stories are just a few of the many important events happening around the world. Stay tuned for more updates and analysis. Let's get started. Well, this is certainly a disturbing story. It's important to remember that justice must be served, especially in cases like this.
Absolutely, Barrack. It's heartbreaking to hear about these kinds of crimes happening in our communities.
Yes, it's a tragedy. But let's not forget the importance of considering the facts and evidence before making any judgments.
I agree, Albert. It's important to approach this with a level head and not let emotions cloud our judgment.
That's right, Alon. And it's important to remember that the justice system is designed to protect the innocent and punish the guilty.
But what about the victim? How can we ensure that justice is served for her?
Well, Katie, the Crown Office has stated that they will consider whether the sentence is unduly lenient. That's a step in the right direction.
And let's not forget the importance of education and prevention. We need to work together to create a society where these kinds of crimes don't happen in the first place.
Absolutely, Alon. And in the meantime, we must continue to hold those who commit these crimes accountable for their actions.
Well said, Barrack. Let's hope that justice is served in this case, and that we can work towards a safer and more just society for all. Well, speaking of community service, it looks like McDonald's is taking a page out of that rapist's book and giving their employees a sentence too.
Breaking news. McDonald's has temporarily closed its offices and has started informing corporate employees about layoffs being made by the burger giant as part of a broader company restructuring. In this article from the Wall Street Journal, some McDonald's workers began to hear about the fate of their jobs on Monday.
Well, I guess we won't be hearing "I kissed a burger and I liked it" anytime soon.
I wonder if they'll still have them equipped. It's a scientific mystery.
It's always difficult to hear about layoffs, especially during these uncertain times. I hope McDonald's is doing everything they can to support their employees.
Maybe they can give the employees a happy meal as a parting gift.
I hope this doesn't affect their stock too much. I have some investments in the fast food industry.
It's important for companies to make tough decisions in order to stay competitive and successful. I'm sure McDonald's too is doing what he thinks is best for the company.
We may see some protests from employees or labor groups, but ultimately it's up to McDonald's to make the decisions they think are necessary for their business.
Well, if you thought McDonald's was bad for your health, wait until you hear about this mystery nosebleed disease.
Breaking news. Health officials in West Africa are raising the alarm after 3 people died from a mystery virus that caused the nosebleed to Burundi.
Well, that's not a very catchy tune.
I'm afraid this is no laughing matter, Katie.
Maybe we can send a Tesla to investigate.
The cause and origin of this bug are unknown at this point. However, symptoms of the illness reportedly include fever, headaches, dizziness, and vomiting.
Sounds like my last tour.
This is a serious matter. We need to find out what this virus is and how it spreads.
I guess we won't be visiting Burundi anytime soon.
The World Health Organization has declared the Marburg outbreak in neighboring Tanzania a very high risk to surrounding countries. We need to take this seriously and work together to contain the spread of this virus.
I guess it's time to break out the face masks again.
Well, it looks like the town's nosebleed epidemic has finally come to an end. Just in time for Trump to arrive and steal the spotlight with his own drama. Well. Look who's back in the news again. Donald Trump. I have to say, I'm not surprised. But I'm disappointed. It's a sad day for our country when a former president is facing criminal charges.
Yes, it's definitely a big story. And it's interesting to see how his legal team is trying to keep cameras out of the courtroom. Do you think that's a good idea?
Well, as a physicist, I can tell you that the observer effect is a real thing. The presence of cameras could certainly change the behavior of those in the courtroom. But I don't think that's what his lawyers are worried about.
No, I think they're more concerned about the optics. They don't want this to turn into a media circus. But I have to say, I don't think they're going to be able to avoid that.
I mean, did you see the motorcade he had when he arrived in New York? It was like he was still president or something.
Well, I don't know about that. I've seen some of his supporters try to argue that he's immune from prosecution because he's a former president. But that's not how it works.
Right. And let's not forget what this is all about. Hush money paid to a porn star. It's not exactly a high point in our nation's history.
Well, at least he arrived in style. That plane of his is pretty impressive. Maybe I should get one.
Well, it looks like Trump isn't the only one surrendering today. The oil prices have decided to cut their output and surrender to the market demands.
Breaking news. Oil prices have surged after a surprise move to cut output. In this article from Co., it states that OPEC members were expected to stick to the same production policy. But this announcement came just a day before their meeting. This is a huge surprise and could have major implications for the global economy.
Well, I guess we can't roar about low gas prices anymore.
This is a fascinating development. The supply and demand of oil is a complex system, and any changes to it can have a ripple effect throughout the world.
Looks like I'll have to start selling more electric cars.
It's interesting to see this move towards cutting output, especially since there were indications that members would stick to the same production policy. This could be a sign of a shift in the global oil market.
I hope this doesn't mean we'll have to start drilling for oil in our own backyards.
It's important to remember that oil is a finite resource, and as we continue to use it, the supply will eventually run out. This could be a step towards finding alternative energy sources.
I'm just glad I invested in solar panels.
This news could have major implications for the global economy. We'll have to keep a close eye on how this develops and how it affects different countries and industries.